Drive with me down my memory lane to 2019, which for many around me seemed like a failure. They'd say I would have been safer and more successful had I stayed in my predictable career in the Brussels bubble. Showing up for demonstrations once in a while against the political mafia running my country, observing how Slovakia always has the lowest turnout rates in the European elections, but not doing much about it. Just continuing in my then cool job of preparing for Brexit negotiations and worrying that more exits like this might happen if we don't change the way we communicate about Europe. But not doing much about that either because, hey, I'm already an impactful public servant, right? So I chose to show up for a cause greater than myself, or at least that's how I felt about it back then. And without any prior experience or idea how to go about it, I started campaigning in the European Parliament elections. It is exactly that experience of running and not being elected that often gets me invited to these kind of events. The truth is, while obviously there's a lot I can share about the lessons learned of failed campaigning, about how to attract more women to politics, about managing the risk that it meant for my European Commission career, it still remains one of the greatest years of my life. And while the world out there likes to remind me that according to their definition of victory and success, those 14,894 personal votes were not enough. In my world, those were 14,894 personal confirmations of gratitude and recognition of bravery for showing up at a next level. It is a world in which life is a roller coaster of learning experiences, not a sprint in which just the benchmark in the last mile counts. So, why did I accept to speak to you today? Not to give you lectures about civic engagement or avoiding those failures in campaigning or public speaking or career management, which is what maybe some of you know me for from my coaching workshops. I accepted because I stand for enabling impactful expansion of talented leaders like you. And I'm worried that your fear of failure might be holding you back from showing up as a greater, more expressed version of yourself. I accepted to invite you to consider a new definition of failure, which for me is not about the result, but about not trying. For me, failure is when we hear ourselves calling, but we shut it down. Failure is when we stay in toxic environments which are filled with harassment, inauthentic conversations, or HR management, which is everything but human. Failure is when we have skills and passion for bringing the new, for stretching the boundaries, for disrupting how we produce, consume, relate, or collaborate, but we don't dare to show up and do something about it. I feel that if you showed up today to listen to me and the other amazing speakers, you are not the kind of person who shies away from hardcore life challenges. You are already a leader. You invest time and energy and effort into becoming a better version of yourself. You know what it feels like to be in the arena fighting for your cause. Even if you're unsure about how painful it's gonna be or if you're ever gonna see the result of it. I have the same insecurity, and I know how powerful that little scared voice within can be in pulling me away from stepping into the unknown. That's why I'm here today, inviting you to embrace that little scared voice within and do it anyway. That's how it felt back then when I decided to get involved in the European Parliament elections without prior involvement with politics. Or when right after the campaign, I launched my podcast, Lights in Europe, without any prior experience with new media. Or when last year I attempted to become the European Commission's YouTuber, shining more light on how, as an institution, we were going through massive transformation during the COVID lockdown. In those moments, the most important piece of the puzzle is knowing your why. As on most heroes and heroines' journeys, we have no idea what kind of dragons and fairies we're gonna meet on our path. The missing piece is often figuring out how to start embracing it, to dare to carry the torch, to reignite it again and again in the face of criticism, when you fall and it feels definitive, when you feel lonely, when the matrix sends you constant reminders to box yourself back into the system, when you organize events and nobody shows up, when you release heart-filled interviews and so few listeners care to appreciate it. Yes, it does feel painful and scary, even embarrassing, because the matrix does everything possible to get you back on track. Instagram shows you something else to strive for. Parents tell you to get a safe job and stop speculating. That little scared voice within reminds you that they might be right. But there's also another whisper, the one that tells you that more is possible, that you should at least try, that the cause you stand for needs you, even if you're not gonna save the world just yet. That's when you will also experience the little glimpses of signals showing you that you might be on the right path. Like the thousands of acknowledging conversations I experienced when I was traveling around Slovakia discussing Europe with people, or seeing my book become Amazon bestseller and provide new insights to young leaders, or getting calls from my colleagues who ask me to host all kinds of innovative policy experiments for them in topics that were never done by a bureaucracy before. That's the most precious vitamin, the appreciation, fueling my effort to continue bringing the new culture of leadership that I stand for into the EU's public administration space. Even when back then I was standing out in the rain with blisters, or when the algorithm rejected my file for 15th time, or when my mom is scared for me again when she sees the hate speech under my Facebook posts. Maybe at this point you see that a lot of those experiences might be relatable for you, and that they're often on the borderline of failure. Although often it may look like many of us have it all figured out, and on the outside it's all cool and we're so unstoppable, while on the inside it may feel so scary, insecure, and vulnerable, though that's not what we're supposed to be showing, right? And so I wonder how it resonates now at this stage. Maybe you're thinking how to bring this into your lives and into the cause you stand for. So first, my invitation would be to start from the inside out and develop some kind of self-reflection practice, because as we often operate in very brain-led environments, we often lost that capability of reconnecting with the inner wisdom, the intuition, the higher wisdom, whatever you call it. And so the number one thing is really to start journaling, meditating, or speaking to mentors and coaches to start discovering that voice again. So that would be my first tip, to tune into what would be your practice that you can start developing today. Second, I invite you to consider who is your tribe. Because choosing who you ask for advice can literally make or break your next move. It might be people who may honor many beautiful values, but being outrageously courageous might not be one of them. And so instead of staying in the comfortable A seats, think of who are the people next to you who are going to challenge you, support you, and make you be willing to see what you would previously not be able to see. Speaking of the arena, Brené Brown is, who we've already mentioned today, is the one who often says that the people who've never been in the arena, their opinion is literally irrelevant for your project because they don't know what it feels like to feel the fire on their own skin. And they may be honoring many beautiful values, but being outrageously courageous might not be one of them. And so it's an invitation for you to think of who is going to be the new tribe accompanying you on your journey. So that would be my second tip. And third, it's an invitation to do one baby step every second, every day towards your goal. Stop waiting for the circumstances to be right and for your ideas to be mature or knowing exactly how to go about it. The power is in stepping into the fog, into the unknown, and trusting that the path will reveal itself. Your only job is to stay in tune with your calling inside and know who to ask for the directions outside. My calling is to be the voice of the new culture of leadership in Europe. I trust that it shows in all kinds of experiments that I do at my workplace and through the podcast, the content that I'm creating for you, or in helping young leaders see the unseen and connect to their inner calling to become a braver, more authentic versions of themselves. The paradox is that you can only fail just staying in their fog, not moving in any direction whatsoever because of the fear of failure. Just staying put, looking into the short distance as far as you can see, accompanied with the friends that have always been there for you, and hoping that one day life will feel more fulfilling and that your ideas will be more mature to go out there with them and become more vulnerable. That's one option. Another option is to try. Knowing that it's going to be messy, that there's going to be painful trials and confusions. That's pretty much the only thing that they promise you. They're part of this play. So is the possibility of the system labeling your attempt as a failure. That's another piece that I can already promise you. So, which path do you choose? Was the brutally, outrageously courageous baby step for the sake of your cause that you can do today to step into your calling without the fear of failure?